not running yet, do you? Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, man.
Bucyrus City Council Joint Special Committee meeting for Monday, July 8th, 2019. We're going to begin here at 6 p.m. Members present are Andrew Schock, Bruce Truca, Mark McKeever, Kevin Myers, and myself, Dan Wireball. So this is the committee meeting because Thursday, July 4th was canceled on account of Independence Day. And is there any public participation? No public here, so there's no participation. Finance Committee, various appropriations. Would the auditor like to refresh our
I
memory on
changed
this?
things a little bit due to something I found out this morning. So, we need an appropriation in the general fund and program 3 leisure time under parks and playgrounds, materials and supplies of $1,500. This is for our pop machines out there. Since the pool hasn't been open, they've been hit a lot harder. So we need to appropriate a little extra money in there. Also, we need an appropriation in Fund 406, that's the ODNR Theater Demolition / Art Park. I have an extra 7 in there. That should be 7770 for lands and buildings. Capital outlay, I would like to appropriate $50,000 because we have some bills that we need to pay for the new stage that was donated to us. We had to pay for getting it taken down and transported here. And there are some other things that I'm sure we'll be wanting to do shortly. We had discussed doing an advance on the grant through ODNR. There's a lot of hoops to jump through to do that. And I think it's going to be easier if we go ahead and appropriate the money, and I need authorization then to advance $50,000 from the general fund to that fund until we get the reimbursement. They wanted, actually I think they wanted my firstborn, but they wanted a copy of my bond, which I get bonded every year, but it's only for $10,000. And because it's only for $10,000, then we could only ask for $10,000. And our bill for transportation for the stage and everything is more than that. So I think it would just be easier if we went ahead and advanced the money and then get a reimbursement, because they'll do that if we've already spent the money.
And the rest of that money gets dispersed upon completion of the work?
We can get it done as we go, I believe. We can ask for reimbursements and submit bills, but since we kind of need to get this done, I just thought this would be an easier way to go.
How soon after we appropriate this and spend it would you anticipate before we get that back from them?
I have to talk to Dale Hartle on that tomorrow. He's actually going to be here tomorrow. I don't think it takes too long once we submit the bills, but they just are also, the state is switching fiscal years, July 1st, and that holds things up too.
And they've already, I think I understand this, but rhetorically asking, I think they've already appropriated the money for us, so there's really no chance of them saying, oh, well, sorry, we're not sending this money to you.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
We don't have the money.
No, there's only about $3,000 in that fund right now that was left from everything else that we did. $3,027.01 to be exact.
So I kind of got lost there. So you want to change the 37,500 to 50,000?
Yes.
Okay, that's what. Well, I guess I didn't get lost then.
No, you didn't get lost.
But,
You're just saving for us coming back to you again.
Right, exactly.
Andy.
Exactly. This is basically like what we do at the end of the year, when we've got things that we have to cover and we advance from the general fund until the funds are received and then we put it back. And I did just receive our FEMA assistance to firefighters money, the $159,603 just went in the bank on Friday. So what I had advanced $50,000 to that at the end of the year. That'll go back to the general fund, and then we'll just advance it to a different fund. So it's just kind of moving things around, but I need your authorization to be able to do that.
Do we have a projected timeline as far as when we think that stage will be done by?
No,
I guess that's more, okay.
no, we don't.
All right.
It's gotta be completed by, the end of June next year, but, you know, we don't have.
So it could technically go into next year on this?
Oh, it will go into next year, yeah.
Till it's completely done,
Until it's
but
completely done.
Well, you think but there's not, but you think they will reimburse upon, using.
submission of the bills, yeah.
Same as the last
Yeah.
man.
All right.
It's the same.
Yeah, that's what we did with the last one, when we took the theater down.
All right.
I do have one more question. So you need money for the pop machines, but if we're not using the concessions, do we have money set aside for that or not?
Wait, there's a difference between park concession and pool concession.
Okay.
And the park concession comes out of the general fund, pool concession comes out of the pool fund. And if the pool were open right now, it would be absorbing some of the, pop costs and that kind of thing.
Okay, I just didn't know
Yeah.
the money was somewhere else, but I understand now.
I'll make a motion to approve the appropriations. And do we need to say with the correction of this, removing one of the sevens on here?
Yes.
On 406, item 406?
Actually, okay, before you take your vote, it's gonna take two pieces of legislation. We have to do the appropriation, we have to do the advance.
Right.
So it's actually two pieces of legislation that
So
you're
we
gonna
need
get
two
back up
motions?
this.
We need
No, we
to-
can do them both together, but I just want you to be aware of the fact that it's going to be two pieces of legislation.
As well as the advance.
Yes.
Add that to that.
Yes, thank you.
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So with that, I guess we're
6:08. And health and safety. Call to order at 6:08. First item is the traffic control map, no parking on East Southern Avenue. Read this letter dated June 24th to Bucyrus Council. The City of Bucyrus Traffic Commission would like to refer several items. Number one, repeal number 6267 dated December 20, 1967. No parking of a motor vehicle shall henceforth be permitted on the south side of East Southern Avenue from Marion Road east to West End Street in the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. And replaced with, no parking of a motor vehicle shall henceforth be permitted on the south side of East Southern Avenue from Marion Road to the city limits, and no parking on the north side of East Southern Avenue from West End Street to 40 feet. Please note that the drop-off signs on the north side of East Southern Avenue will be removed and the striping will be redone. And I guess this is all together on one letter. Item number 2 on our schedule here is the traffic signal in Marion and Beale and Fairview. So I'll continue with that letter. Amend number 6377 dated December 8, 1977 to provide for the full-time operation of an electric traffic control device at the intersection of Marion Road, Beale Avenue, and Fairview Avenue. Add no turn on red on Beale Avenue and Marion Road and Fairview Avenue, on Fairview Avenue and Marion Road and Beale Avenue, on the Marion Road and Beale Avenue and Fairview Avenue. And the repeal number 2778 dated June 17, 1964, 2 stop signs on West Beale Avenue at Marion Road, 1 stop sign on Fairview Avenue at Marion Road, 1 stop sign on Marion Road at Fairview, and 2 stop signs on Marion Road at Beale Avenue. And then item number 3 on our agenda is the traffic signage at Whetstone Reserve. We'll continue reading the letter. Number 3, add to the traffic control map for signage at the Whetstone Reserve, 1 yield sign on Crystal Crescent at Waterford Drive, and 1 yield sign at Dunlow Court at Waterford Drive. And then the letter goes on to mention that plating will need to revisit an issue and signed by Jeffrey Sermer. So for the first item, we're just going to make changes, and this was sent to us and we sent it back. And this language is acceptable to what we had asked for when we sent it back, and that it is going to allow for the continued parking on the north side of Whetstone, or north side of Southern, between Highland and Whetstone, other than 40 feet.
And that's permanent, correct?
That's right.
Because I got 3 people from over there that complained,
That's why we,
and they said the 40 feet, that's acceptable to them.
Yeah, and that's, the 40 feet really is for vehicles making turn and garbage trucks, snowplows, things like that. I find that to be acceptable. I don't see any problem. So, we want these in 3 separate
Do you,
motions.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you want, I'm sorry, do you want
We'll
3
probably
separate
do the,
motions?
traffic control maps all in one piece of legislation, but let's address each one
Address them
individually.
separately. So then, I'll seek a motion to accept item number 1.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McKeever,
Second.
second by Mr. Schock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion passes. Item number 2 then, and essentially what this one is they noticed in the traffic control map that when they put the stoplight in back in 1977, they failed to remove from the traffic control map the stop signs from 1964. It was just caught as a duplicate. And then we're also adding Fairview Avenue to the no turn on red. So that's the only change, is adding the Fairview Avenue to the no turn on red. And then repealing the stop signage. That's just basically a clerical fix.
I'll make a motion to approve that change to the traffic control map.
Motion by Mr. Schock,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. McKeever. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion passes. And then item number 3 is out on Waterford Drive to add the yield sign on Crystal Crescent at Waterford and the yield sign on Dunn Road at Waterford. And I think it's my understanding that area, when it was built, just didn't get any signage. So this is just to appease motorists, safe travel in and out.
So they know who's supposed to be yielding.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept.
Motion by Mr. McKeever,
Second.
second by Mr. Schock. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion passes. So we will notify the traffic commission that we've approved all 3. There's nothing else on the agenda for health and safety.
I just got one question on that. I still don't understand the thinking on this, why West Southern seems to be about as wide as East Southern, but there's parking on both sides of that.
It's actually wider, I believe.
It is wider out there.
When to get past Hopland, or get past Hopland.
Yeah.
Marion Road, actually.
Well, I mean, why is there no parking on the street on Southern? I don't know. Why were we doing it, you know?
It was always previously no parking on all of Southern except for on the north side from Highland down to Whetstone. And so initially they had taken that away as a 90-day trial. We were not in favor, but we sent that back. And so this language basically appeased what we had sent back to them. Now they're going to continue to be allowed to park on the north side there, other than 40 feet from the intersection.
Did we ask, did we get a response from the residents?
I got 3
Yeah.
Yeah.
myself.
I talked to 2 people that live out there on the north side, and did anybody officially
Yeah,
contact
I had a
traffic?
couple people too.
I mean, but did we ask for responses? 'Cause it seems like lately we've not been asking and then we just do things, you know? Like, we did the not parking uptown, and when I read the minutes or something, it said that we're gonna do no parking between these hours. We will notify the residents of.
No, when
there.
we call a meeting, and we have the agenda, and anyone's invited to the meeting, and then we always do it as a trial, so.
And in this particular instance, they did a 90-day trial and health and safety sent it back, we didn't like it.
No one's answered my question yet. Do we go to the residents and say, just like if you're gonna put a fence too close to the street, then we have to have a variance, we send out notices that say, hey, and now we're putting the signs in the yard saying, hey, we're gonna do this, but are we asking the residents as far as that?
Well,
I mean, it doesn't make much sense for us to go nilly-willy around making laws and changing parking things if we're not asking the people that it's gonna affect.
typically when we do make changes is because residents have asked us to do it. That's all about things come up with traffic.
Well, we ran into
We don't-
this on North Sandusky, okay? I don't wanna keep doing it, it makes us look kinda stupid.
Well,
When
I don't-
we do things and then we've got a bunch of people show up and say, hey, we don't want this. When all we have to do is ask.
We don't have a bunch of people show up and say, okay, when we have the meetings, no one objects to it, then they have time during the trial to object to it, so, we're happy to hear out what people have to say. As far as our North Sandusky, we have to sweep the streets, when do we have to sweep the streets? We're not calling people in to pay overtime at 3 in the morning. It's just silly to do that, so we're asking them not to park.
Well,
in
I
the
had a
city.
guy come up to me on First Fridays and said, how's this gonna affect me? Because I am a rusty zipper or whatever that group is called now, that goes in there at 7 o'clock. I told him, don't worry about it because we're not gonna tell you anyhow, and we don't abide by the traffic, the no parking and everything up there anyhow, so you won't have a problem. So, I told him to go ahead and park, so hopefully he doesn't get a ticket.
I'm not even gonna respond to that. We've talked about why we don't enforce it. He wants to pay $60,000-$70,000 for a meter maid or a meter person and find people and make them mad. This isn't the 1970s or the 1980s. Traffic turns over very quickly. We're not here we're asking people to police themselves so we can keep the streets swept. It's all we're trying to do, and do it in the most reasonable, effective way for the citizens of Bucyrus. Our intention is not to fine anybody, it's to get a street sweeper in there to clean, so it looks nice when people are coming through town. So if you've got a better way to do it, let us know.
Okay.
All right, we will wrap up health and safety at 6:18 PM. Thank you.
Okay. I will call fighting to order at 6:18. All right. Well, Mr. Mayor, status of the lot between
Oh,
Lee's
yes.
and Wendy's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is actually a lot there between, you know where it is?
I do now, but
Yeah.
I never dreamed it. The whole time I was going to Sullivan's.
I know.
You want to park on his yard?
Yeah.
I always
What were you
known
doing?
it as an alley.
What were you doing parking your car and going to Sullivan's? Aren't you a little old for towing?
No, used to go there and run slot cars.
I know what you mean, I just can't.
Well, that was on the route for people who did lapping.
Yeah.
That's how we turned around.
Right.
One of
Well,
them.
it's turned into kind of a thoroughfare actually, and it is a lot, so, so if we're gonna have it as an alley, I think, we'll put it in the traffic map and then maybe put some parking spaces in there too. I think that makes
A
sense.
suggestion, if I may.
Yes, sure.
If we are gonna continue to leave it a thoroughfare, I believe that, if we decide whether we want one-way or two-way traffic through there, you notice that the people, I like one-way, but the people that are working at Clady's are sometimes coming in from one way, sometimes the other way, they're parking two different directions, and that makes it a little confusing at times.
Yes.
I don't know the width of this lot, but I can tell you from experience on the,
30.12.
okay, well, I can just tell you from experience from another unnamed alley that I happen to know of, that you have to make sure you have enough width for two cars to be going, because I know, this particular alley I'm thinking of is, you know, if one car is coming one way and the other's going the other, you know, unless you drive through somebody's yard, which that happens sometimes, they just pull up into the yard to make room for a pass through. You have to have the width to be able to get them through if there's parking. And so, yeah, one way is gonna be the way to go unless you have the width for the two-way traffic. I think one way
Is it wide enough?
one way heading west seems to make most sense to me.
Is there, what, you know, that parallel parking, what's the other one where you just sort of nose in?
Yeah, you might have room for
Is there-
angled spots.
Yeah, I wondered if we only had one-way parking, that would put more parking spaces available down there. I don't know that if we need them in that
They
area.
use it
that
as a
much,
truck
or-
with a trailer, and not that we wanna,
Oh.
speak just for one business, but, you know, I know they park their truck or trailer there often to load.
Okay,
But that's only to unload.
Well, then, you know, backing out when people are coming through there might create more safety issues.
I thought there always was.
I mean,
There used
There are
to be.
spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, back when we had meters, I believe that was metered.
Yeah.
It wasn't even so.
Yeah.
Yeah, people that went back.
Well, okay, Mr. City Attorney, do we have to refer this to, Traffic Commission to put it to a 90-day trial or and investigate to put it as, angular parking or parallel parking? Do we have to have them investigate that?
What, I guess my question is, what do you want to do with it? Are you going to turn it into an alley, or are you going to turn it into parking?
Both, I think.
Then you're gonna, yeah, then you're gonna have to send it to traffic and have them do a study. But right now, it's not platted as an alley at all. So the first step is gonna have to be to change the platting to an alley.
Is there any legal difference between platting it as an alley or a street when it comes to funding for repair or anything else?
Not under our street levy. Street levy is any road, alley, thoroughfare.
And as far as putting parking places in, same thing, you know, that would be allowed, whether it's alley or a street?
Parking spots are not specifically listed in our street levy, but they are part of the street, and historically, they've been included in those street levy projects. They're not, it doesn't specifically say.
If it was designated as a strictly parking lot, then it wouldn't be, but if it's an alley
Yeah,
with the parking adjacent to it,
Yeah, if it's a pure parking lot, that was the issue we had here, was, you know, there's part of the pure parking lot that we couldn't do that with, but the part that was thoroughfare we could. Streets in town, it's always been part of the entire street. So, but the first thing, if we're gonna allow people to drive through there, which they've been doing for 100 years, but we're gonna officially declare that, I think our first step is changing that platting to say, yes, this is an alley. Then our second step is, what side do we want the parking, what side or both sides, and how we want that laid out. That's something traffic commission can start with, do their trials, and then bring back to you. The first thing is declaring it a street or an alley.
If you make it a street, you have fun naming it.
You can sell naming rights.
Yeah.
Sullivan Valley.
Okay, well, would anybody like to entertain a motion to changing that to that property to a designated alley and referring it back to Traffic Commission to set direction and designate parking?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any other discussion, questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That's a question. When you send this back to Traffic Commission, do you want to give us direction, on your preference on the direction and where you want the parking spaces, or do you want us to decide that ourselves?
In my opinion, I'm just speaking, I think it should be one-way west to avoid,
Makes sense. That
Parking on the north side up against that sidewalk.
yeah. That's just an idea. That'd be-
And my personal belief is there's a sidewalk already there against
Mhm.
Clady's building,
Mhm.
and make it west and keep it as is, and
That way it's not gonna interfere with, we don't want somebody coming out when people are trying to go into Wendy's, which
That's-
their entrance is right there.
That was my
So
concern.
if they turn too soon, they're just gonna end up on the back alley.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, we're bringing up, the next traffic commission things.
Okay.
Which is this week.
Okay. Without any further questions?
I was just saying, we could ask them to name it Sullivan's Alley.
That would be a.
But those alleys behind downtown are named.
Yes,
Al, yeah,
Broadway Alley and,
Yeah. Broadway and,
that could be a interesting thing. Maybe we could cover that when it comes back to.
That would be
for our
up to you
approval.
guys.
Las Vegas Boulevard.
Okay, without any further discussion, all those in favor of changing this to an alley and sending it to traffic commission to determine direction and parking, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And motion passed. 10.
You voted on that too, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. All right, Whetstone Reserve Public Thoroughfares.
Okay. The same thing, yeah. Well, there's nothing in the traffic map, traffic control map that even plots anything out on those streets, so we hope to add it to the, it should have been done obviously when it was first.
so essentially it's a private street at the moment.
That's right.
We can accept
Yeah,
them and,
so,
I got a question.
yes,
Without looking back, by looking at the picture, where do you want, just curiosity, I don't have a problem, but where are you gonna put those yield signs at?
coming on to Waterford off of Dunlow or off of either side of Crystal Crescent.
The one up at the top and then the art.
So if you're on Waterford Drive, you don't stop, but if you're on Dunlow or on Crystal Crescent, you have to yield to the traffic that's on
Oh,
Waterford.
okay, great, gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
You had a question?
Oh, no, I don't know, he had a question.
Okay.
I'll move that we accept these into, public thoroughfare city regulated streets.
Okay, second.
Any first and second, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting this as public thoroughfares, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, last one. Codified ordinance 1131.12, fire protection. Well, I was not able to get ahold of my cousin. Kevin and I were discussing this, and our question is, Mr. Mayor, we didn't know if the amount of gallons per minute would not impede the fire. I don't know if 6 inch, from 8 inch to 6 inch can handle 20, remember the
I talked to Mr. Wagner and shared my ideas, but he was fine with what I had suggested, but, the things that I would like to see added is, and I shared with him that I'm not trying to protect ourselves from ourselves currently, but, 20 years down the road, people may not understand why we changed this, and then you get too small a diameter of pipe in place, or a change is made and somebody's not cognizant of why that is. And so my thought was, on top of saying, well, X amount of inches, I'd also like to see a minimum flow rate, and then.
excuse me for interrupting, do you want to just leave it at 8? I mean, it's not like it's gonna be a.
Well, and I went and spoke with the fire chief, and I asked him the question,
But
Not much difference?
not a whole lot of difference, any chances that we're gonna have to put it in the future, or it's kind of.
Well, there's difference in cost between
I
8 inch
understand
pipe and
that,
6 inch
but,
pipe.
I know, but
And,
where are we gonna be putting this pipe in, where it's not gonna happen, we just, it's in the city, cities,
you know, our subdivisions have, right
Well, I
now,
asked the-
our
I
building
asked the
lots already
fire-
have it in, so
I
I
asked the
guess,
fire chief about the difference
Yeah.
between a 6-inch and an 8-inch.
right.
And surprisingly, it's a lot.
Well, you get a higher pressure with the
Yeah.
smaller one, and that's
Yeah.
why the health department
Yeah.
people like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for fire protection, we want, we
Yeah.
want to make sure
More
we have
So,
water.
should this maybe be, if we, since 6 inches has become the standard basically
Mhm.
across the country, if we say something in there with, according to, recommendation of the engineers on the projects?
And another thing I shared,
We could do
and
that.
I thought, I'd like to see the fire chief just sign off, not saying he has to approve or disapprove, but sign off saying he was made aware. That way we can show that there was information passed to the fire
Whatever's
department.
good for you guys.
That was another thing I wanted. And then, the last thing that the fire chief and I spoke on was, you know, one of the standards of the National Fire Protection Association shows the bonnets of the fire hydrants painted specific colors based on their flow rates. And they had asked to do that several years ago, Mr. Diver told them no. They would like to do it again, and I think it would be a great idea. So I thought that could be included into this at the same time. I had come across some sample legislation from another community I shared with Mr. McKeever that kind of addressed all of that.
Right, and it looked pretty good.
The only question I had is on the painting, you know, are there standard colors for that? or-
Yeah, the National Fire Protection Association sets certain colors that will tell you how many gallons per minute a flow hydrant has.
And Mr. Chairman, I think we also had the discussion that as far as all the fire hydrants and everything in town, we're going through now, and those are all being mapped. And, as to what the sizes and everything are, and I would think that it would be, the fire department should have access to that information. And, that's why I didn't see them painted different colors out in the community, is I thought that the mapping that we were doing would, take care of that as far as the fire department is concerned. My opinion.
Well, I respect that, but the other thing I can think of is, you know, when they're going to the fire, they're not gonna grab the file, or they're not gonna open up the computer on the way, because they're thinking of the fire. And if they see, and they get trained, you see white means this, and yellow means this, they know right off the bat, this is how many gallon per minute this can handle, depending on the structure fire. I'm just saying, because, you know, when you're running out of your house, a burning house, you're grabbing things that you know you wanna say, but you don't remember everything.
But I
Or-
think that also, though, that they're going to, I mean, this has become an iPad. They carry them with them all the time. They have all that information right there at their fingertips. And they're already looking at something like this to say, okay, where is the nearest fire plug that I'm going to go to? And that if that information is available and can be made available through that, I think you have it all in one place for them to know that on the way, they don't have to get there and figure it out and determine it. They can figure it out on the way there. But I think that would be a question that the fire chief should be asking.
After you and I spoke on that, I did ask you that question. And the one thing I'll say, as a retired firefighter, one of the things that I can tell you is if you write in the officer sheet, yes, you have that computer there, but I'm also getting my gear on, getting my air pack on, thinking about what other trucks are coming to them, I'm looking for the fire. Oh, and I'm also supposed to look to make sure that there's no traffic coming this way to tell the driver. And there's a lot going on in that situation where the last thing you want to be doing is be flipping a computer open and staring at it while we're driving. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So would you want to just table this till we have a little more information?
I think so. You know, like I said, I like to check on the gallon flow
Yeah.
and get more specific information on that. Plus, I think we should have the fire chief and several of the firefighters to come up to get their input, because they're the ones that's gonna use it, and we wanna make sure it fits their needs. And,
Okay.
yeah. Is there any other questions, anybody? Dan, got any?
No? Okay.
All right, well, with that, we'll table this to our next committee meeting. And with that, I will adjourn at 6:35.
We'll begin public lands and buildings at 6:35 PM and talk about the city hall lobby use.
Mr. Myers has,
I see
oh,
that-
I guess, or the mayor has the information.
We both do.
Okay, you both do.
Yeah. I'm gonna defer to Mr. Myers. We talked last meeting about putting a workstation in. I guess I wasn't quite as clear about, where we were gonna put permanent walls up. But Mr. Myers has a picture of a reception desk that would go in the area that the current reception desk is in right now. So, you wanna take it from there, Mr.?
Yeah, what we've come up with the Tourism Bureau is simply a,
And just a point here, Mr. Myers is our appointee to the Tourism Bureau, so,
appointed by you.
yes.
Yes. A two-seated workstation there, with a lockable credenza where they could lock up a laptop or anything else, when nobody is there. While they are there, it could serve as, kind of almost a welcoming agent into the city hall lobby. Good afternoon, the mayor's office sets up this way, bigger water bill over that way, so. We feel this kind of does two things. It's a little more aesthetically pleasing to look at than a big cubicle, 8-foot tall wall structure. And it's a lot less expensive than that too.
I think I looked down there and there already is electricity on that wall.
Yeah.
They may have to, increase it or do something with it, but.
I don't think they would need much electric, telephone, I'm not sure how easily it would be to run telephone lines too, but probably not that difficult, given that there's telephone and network cables all over the building already.
And the cost,
The cost of,
that would be picked up by the tourism bureau.
I think so.
I don't see a problem if the tourism bureau is picking up the cost. I mean, it's gonna benefit the city and the tourism bureau.
Yeah, especially since we're giving the space for free. It's a mutual benefit to both.
We support the tourism bureau. Part of the money that we collect from the bed tax goes to the tourism bureau. And they also have other money makers, ways that they do generate some income.
Yeah, bike tour during the Breakfast Festival, and a couple other calendars and things like that.
So they have been, we have the board itself consists of about, what?
12-ish.
12 members. And they've been very active in the community. They've been the ones that have been responsible for bringing in tourism groups from buses from different areas that still come in that are absolutely amazed that, there's farms out there that have sheep in them. And they take in more than just our area too. They take some up to New Washington, and I think out into some of the farming communities around that people enjoy. When you're from a big city, you don't see this every day. We're used to seeing it all the time, and they're not. And they take people up to pickings, and they stop at some of our restaurants. There are people that are bringing money into our community, and I think the tourism bureau serves a good niche here for our community.
Mr. Chairman, not only that, but I think you mentioned the word goodwill. Yeah, it's really, you can't put a price on that. When you talk to some of these folks that are, in town from different areas of big cities and really go away with a positive feeling about our community. That's what we're really after. It's not so much about making money, it's nice that they spend their money here, but we just need to make sure we have a good image out there.
Yes.
I think we've come a long way.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think we ought to have it here. One thing, it'll save money for the tourism bureau to use it elsewhere instead of paying for rent. I mean, the amount of electric they're gonna use is a drop in the bucket for what this place uses anyhow, so. And it's centrally located and,
We're already heating that room anyway.
yeah, it's putting the space to better use.
Yeah, I got a comment and a question all at the same time. Is there a possibility, being that we're gonna have a tourism bureau downstairs, is there a possibility of, isn't there a bathroom that we don't use downstairs? No.
No, we use both of them.
Oh, I thought the women's bathroom wasn't used.
No, it's used downstairs.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been in it lately, but, you know.
No, well, yeah. No, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought that was like locked or something.
No,
Oh,
upstairs is locked.
oh, okay.
I think the only thing that I thought about that this might throw a wrench into is traditionally we put the Christmas tree right in the center of the lobby, and that may not work.
We can find them places.
I just want to make sure that that's not going to create a problem when it gets to the holiday season.
We'll move the Christmas tree. Yeah. It's a big room.
Anything else?
So I think you just need a,
I'll make a motion to allow
yeah.
the tourism bureau to set up an item similar to this.
Is
In
there
our
any
lobby.
legislation or anything, just
I don't
giving
believe
you
so.
a green light? Okay. So are we all in favor, I guess?
I'll do a second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd just like to ask, Mr. Martin, do they have a time frame when they might be, or?
Let's start working on it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know what you need us to do, so.
I'll come and meet with you, and we'll get the ball rolling.
Let's do it.
Okay, I guess with that, we'll adjourn public lands and buildings at 6:42. Any other public participation? Speak now. Making a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we adjourn 6:42.